welcome back to the channel, guys. Now in this video I'm going to run through the rigs which I used and why I used them on our recent live match down at the clay pit. It was a night match, so we had to fish a bit aggressive to try and catch a big weight. We had a brilliant day. Now if you haven't seen the match, just simply head over to my channel, look for the thumbnail, says massive weight, and check that one out. But if you have seen it, then you're going to be here to see all about the rigs I used. I'm going to talk through them, why you pick certain things for certain floats for scenarios, what shallow floats are used, what jiggers are used, excuse me. So let's get stuck into it now. So the first up is I'm going to go through my shallow rigs. So on the day I set up my rigs, I've had to change these around because I'm fishing a festival at the minute. That's why I'm sat in a hotel room doing this video. But I've changed the elastics to suit, but I'm just going to talk about for the elastics. So the first one I want to talk about is my dibber rig. Now for this I've just got an old style Tyson float. Now I will look to changing these when the new inline dibbers come out, but for that match this is the style I use, like a Skittle style body. Now for all my shallow fishing I've got short kits, and I have a 13 white Jigger slip in. Just a nice elastic, flies out your pole, but it's got a bit of beef. Caught some big fish that night, 2 to 3 pound F1s. You need a bit of beef to try and pull them up, otherwise you're going to bottom your elastic up too much and have them hook pulls. So that's why it's really important not to fish too heavy or too light, just a nice elastic for the size of fish. If they're a little bit smaller I'd probably look to use like a 10 holler, but because they were big fish I've used white Jigger slip. Now main line for all my shallow fishing is 017, just nice and robust, dead simple. Like I said, little dibber, Skittle style float. And then shotting's really important down your line. So I like to use stop because if I'm moving the shot around, I can play around my rig. Sometimes I might want to spread bulk. Sometimes I want it all down on my hook length. Sometimes I might want it 2 under my float, 1 down the line, just to play around with it, just so you can make your hook bait fall a little bit slower. When the fishing's good, I like to pull it all of it down, get it to the set depth I've set it at, and you can catch a little bit quicker that way. But yeah, stops for that. Then literally a 3-inch hook length. Because of this dibber I'm going to look to be using this between 8 to 14 inch, nothing shallower, nothing deeper. So I'm going to use a 3-inch hook length, and that's just 013 GPMB size 16, just a little bait band on there. So we were fishing with pellet shallow, so you can get a pellet on. This has been rigged for cast as well. It doesn't really matter what I'm fishing, these are my rigs I like to use. Now I did have a back shot on as well, but I haven't got it on this rig at the minute. I've just made it up for the festival. But yeah, 2 number 8 back shot just above, just keep it nice and tight. You can see in the match it was actually solid, and we caught a lot of fish doing that. So that's the dibber style rig. Now the one which is, funnily enough, it's probably my most searched video still, and it's for years ago, is the jigger fishing. Now jigger fishing can be so effective, especially somewhere down the clay pit where it's deep. That's where I find it better, where you're fishing a little bit deeper, from say like 18 inch up to 4, 5, 6 foot. You can search the layers, you can move your rig around, and you can search it from probably from like 6 inch all the way up to 4 foot. You can search that area, and what it allows, if you still getting a few bites and you feel like the fish are coming shallow or you've got a set depth, you can go to that depth straight away if you're getting your bites all at the same sort of point. But what you find on the clay pit the reason why the jigging can be so effective is sometimes you have some stockies sitting quite high, so you can catch them on a jigger, but sometimes you have some bigger fish sat deeper, or vice versa, so you can just search all the areas. So like I said before, it was a 13 Jigger slip elastic I used, 4 inches of line between the float stop and the pole tip. That's just Western Pool's rules. Now the jigger I like to use, I've got 017 mainline, just nice and durable, and it's just a Preston jigger in 4 to 6 mil. I don't need the bigger one, because if it was a little bit windier I could probably use the bigger one. That's because you can get more weight down the line. And just pull them down, pull them up, that's it. And then all you have with your jigger is just a little block of shot above your hook length. It just moved on the thing. And then I've just got a 5-inch hook length this time. Now that's really important, because I feel like when you're flicking your jigger up and down, you want your hook bait to flutter. So a little bit longer hook length allows this. If you have a 3-inch hook length, you get less movement on your hook length, as where a 5-inch hook length, you get a bit of movement, moves around. That's what you want with the jigger. The fish will grab it, you flick it up, that's when you hook your fish. That's just the same hook length, 013, GPMB, size 16, little bait band as well. So All your blocker shot on the hook length at the top. Because your jigger's got no weight as well, that's really important, because when you slap on the surface, that jigger won't actually run until you get above it, which I really like, because like I said before, you can catch fish quite shallow. So if you slap it in, the time you get to get above it, you're basically fishing straight away and in contact with your rig all the time. That's really important with jigger fishing. That's why it's so effective. You've got to be in contact with your rig all the time. So they were the most effective shallow rigs I've used. Now, what I'm going to move on to now is the sort of like my hard pellet line, which is in 4 foot, and my edge line as well. So talk about my rigs on that. So my hard pellet line I chose to use, this is just as used from today's festival, but it's the same sort of, it's the same float I'd use, but just a little bit deeper. So the elastic I used on that is a 15's hollow. I've been using that a lot recently for my deck carp fishing. I just feel like it's nice and soft on the strike, but it's got a bit of power if the fish start to run. I can pull them fish back. Like I said before, I'm not going to get bottomed out and pulling the hook out of things. That's what I find at the minute. When the fishing's really good, you just want a nice balanced kit. So I've used a 15's hollow. Then I literally got an excess carp, 4x16. Just because the reason why I've used this float is because they can be quite aggressive to fish down the clay pit. I'm fishing for carp, ideally, because I was throwing 6mm in, 8mm on the hook, excuse me. So fiberglass stem for a bit of strength. But the main reason why I've used it, I like the slim body as well, is the top. It's a 2.5mm bristle, so it's nice and buoyant. The last thing you want is when you're fishing with an 8mm and feeding 6mm is, yes, you might get a few F1s in your peg and they can give you a few signs. You want it nice and buoyant. You want to sit there, nice and buoyant bristle. So when you get that bite, you can see it's a nice positive indication you're striking at the wrong bites. You're not wasting any time then. And then I literally, I've just moved the bulk down, but I had a bulk and one dropper. So what I mean by that is I've got 019 mainline on this because it's nice and strength and fishing for carp. I had a bulk and one dropper, so what I mean is probably 5 inches away from the top of the hook length, I've got my bulk, one dropper above the hook length, and then a 4-inch hook length, just cut down, pre-tied, KKH, size 16, 017 bottom, so it's nice and strong, and that's the rig I use for my deep water pellet fishing. And then the fish, we had a few fish on it. This is actually still the same sort of rig. It's got a 17's hollow elastic, so a bit more beefed up, just because we don't want to get bottomed out in the clay pit. We're going to catch some big fish in the edges, so shallow water, they can be a bit spooky, be a bit dark out your peg. So nice 17 hollow. You'd be surprised, that's actually quite soft, but it's got a bit of power behind it. 019 mainline again, little bulk of back shot. Now the float this time is a 4x14's edge float. I like this for my carp fishing. It's a little bit bigger, but it's got a nice thick tip, slim body, little rugby style, thinner rugby ball style body, fiberglass for your strength again. And then this is dead simple, this, just literally a bulk on the, wherever it is, a bulk on the hook length, right at the top, and then a 4-inch hook length of a XSH, sorry, not a KKMB, XSH, size 12 to 017, 4 inches there, bulk on the top, back shot on position, so when you drag that rig in, you get that quick bite, you can see it dead simple and dead effective with that way. So they were the rigs I used to catch that massive weight. I think it was 220 pounds down the clay pit, mega nights fishing, but it's about picking the right rig and having you set up right. You can get on the bank or get in your tackle room, wherever you do your rigs, set them rigs up, watch the live match, feeding the way I did, hopefully draw a fly like I did, and you'll catch loads of fish. So I just want to say a massive thank you as well, because I had a mega response from that video. A load of people messaging me, commenting on it, talking to me about it, which I really appreciate, and a thank you for watching that if you have. If you haven't, go and watch it, and then thank you for that. So don't forget, like and subscribe like always, and I'll see you on the next one.